I'm probably going to change my tune, and I believe that the Los Angeles Clippers actually won the trade between Tobias Harris, Boban, and Avery Bradley in the first-round draft pick for Blake Griffin. Let's talk about it. Motor City Sports Talk, we in the building. Appreciate everybody for checking in. Don't forget we're on Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. All those links in the description. And pretty much, Harris and Blake Griffin numbers are identical. Griffin averaging 26.5, 8.1 rebounds, 5.2 assists, almost 4 turnovers a game at 3.8, 36.5% from three-point line, 36 minutes a game. He played 46 minutes. I think the games he missed are been rest so far. And Harris is, pretty much scored 21.1 points a game, 7.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, just under 2 turnovers a game, 1.9. He's been shooting over 43% from three-point range and averaging 30.46 minutes a game. A little bit more than Blake Griffin, or a little bit less than Blake Griffin in 50 games, okay? Obviously, Avery Bradley ain't been doing jack crap, so there's no need to talk about him. Boban hasn't really played a lot either. I think he was just a throw-in, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a lot of promise as well. He don't have gaudy numbers, just under 10 points and 9.9. 2.7 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 1.8 turnovers a game. But he got a lot of promise, man. And I think the team really like him. He was the first-round draft pick that the Pistons traded. 6'6", 20 years old, 181 pounds. So physically got a ways to go. And I think the Pistons should have took Michael Porter Jr. and took that risk with that draft pick. Because I still think even with the back injury, he has an opportunity to be a stud. And so does the Denver Nuggets, who actually took him at the end of the lottery. But pretty much, man, you got to look at it from financials and just not player for player as well. Tobias Harris' contract was going to be up this year, and I think Avery Bradley contract was going to be up this year, and Boban contract was going to be up this year. So the Pistons would have had a ton of cap space. Okay, and people say, well, Blake Griffin is the best player in the deal. Yeah, but not by a country mile. He ain't LeBron. He ain't Kevin Durant. He not raising, the Pistons from obscurity all the way to prominence in the NBA. Pretty much what the Pistons did was really damage their cap situation with Blake Griffin and bail out the LA Clippers from a bad contract, okay? And I was surprised that Blake Griffin didn't get a no-trade clause in his contract, and maybe he thought he was on a good faith or handshake terms with the LA Clippers and thought he was going to be good and they wasn't going to trade him. And Steve Ballmer and him had an excellent relationship. And Doc Rivers, which wasn't the case, they found the dummy. And the Pistons was the dummy. The Pistons mortgaged their future, mortgaged their future cap space for Blake Griffin. And now he's on the books for the next 4 or 5 years. And the Pistons are hand-tied with a contract that pretty much probably nobody wants in the NBA. And again, they traded a lot of assets. Avery Bradley had the sexual assault thing going on with him. So, he stopped playing as soon as that came out from the previous year with Boston. Boban wasn't none, but that first-round draft pick was key because it was some talent there. Mikal Bridges, Miles Bridges, I think, might have been there around the time. Michael Porter was hanging around there. Gilgeous-Alexander from Canada, the guy that they ended up drafting, was hanging around there. And pretty much the Pistons, missed the prime position to get the point guard of the future. And like I said before, Blake Griffin is not having a major impact on the Pistons as far as the wins and loss column. But the Clippers, pretty much without Blake Griffin, they haven't, Tobias Harris is their best player, Of course, they got a Lewis Williams and other guys over there. But pretty much Tobias Harris and Montrezl Harrell and those guys are Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley. He trying to adjust to the defensive changes to the rules this year, if you haven't noticed. That's why the games are more high scoring. That, he's trying to adjust. But like I said before, the Clippers, duped the Pistons. The Clippers clearly won this trade and shows this year. And I think some of us was premature about what Blake brought to the table. But also you got to worry about Blake's health. And also in the cap, I'm thinking about the cap in the wins and loss column. You can say Blake Griffin is a phenomenal player. I'm not going to deny that. But we talking about wins and losses. And we talk about the future. The Pistons would have had a shitload of cap come off next year with was a $60 million contract come off for Tobias Harris. I think Avery Bradley had 12 that was due. Boban probably had the minimum or whatever the vet minimum was, whatever it is. So they would have had over, almost $30 million in cap would have came off next year. And on top of that, they would have got 18 or 20 million off next year by, after next year with, Reggie Jackson contract coming off. So, realistically, they would have really freed up almost $40 million in cap, if not more. They would have been able to start completely over, and, Andre Drummond contract would have been looking like a bargain. They already got rid of Marcus Morris. They would have been able to build whatever they wanted to around Andre Drummond. We can go back a step deeper. If they would have been able to evaluate talent, which nobody that steps in the Pistons general manager spot can evaluate talent, they would have got Donovan Mitchell. They would have been on. Donovan Mitchell, Tobias Harris, Andre Drummond. Mitchell was somebody that can, lob it to Dre and make Dre better off the dribble. Maybe they would have got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as well still too. That's a totally different, turn for this franchise. This franchise would have had two young backcourt with Gillingsley and Mitchell. And they had a big man in Drummond, would have had Tobias Harris. You never know what they could have done. Real talk. The Pistons really messed up by trading for Blake Griffin, man. I mean, you can take a step forward. They messed up by not drafting Donovan Mitchell. You can keep going steps forward. They fucked up by taking Stanley Johnson, excuse my language, taking Stanley Johnson over Devin Booker. They've missed it. So from this point on, Ed Stefanowski, it's time to make the right picks. It's time not to make stupid moves, and all that can't be on his hand because that was before he got here. He didn't trade for Blake Griffin. And they got to act like they like Blake Griffin contract, and that was one of the stupidest moves in the NBA because Blake Griffin hasn't impacted us in the wins and loss column. And him and Tobias Harris is pretty freaking comparable, but his contract extends longer than Tobias Harris' contract. The Reggie Jackson trade was another messed up contract. Stan Van Gundy pretty much came here and messed his team up. He got a whole bunch of players he traded for, and none of them defended. Harris didn't defend. Jackson didn't defend. Griffin didn't defend. Drummond don't defend. A whole bunch of players that didn't defend. Other than Avery Bradley, he fell out of favor because of the situation he fell up in I just spoke on. The Clippers won that trade, man. Not looking at it. I didn't know Tobias Harris was I know he was good coming out of Tennessee. I didn't know he was that fucking good. Excuse my language once again. But at the same time, it is what it is, man. My major problem with this trade was this. We're not going to go back into all the messed up trade scenarios that's happened and stuff of that nature. We're not going to be the dead horse dead. But my issue was with the cap situation. The Pistons would have had a lot of money to build around Andre Drummond. Or they could have traded Drummond and started clean over. Now, they really in a spot where, they can't really move Blake Griffin, unless they find a suitor. It's a dummy born every day. But, they had to move Drummond. They talking about moving Drummond. It's going to be tough for them to start over when they could have easily started over, and kind of rebuild on the fly by bidding, Gilgeous-Alexander, put him with Devon Mitchell, put him with Dre, put him with Harris. That's a win. You could have just traded Bradley for anybody coming this year if you didn't like, the baggage that he was coming with. But then again, the Pistons continue to set themselves back. And Stefanowski's going to draft good. He's going to make magic happen. And Blake Griffin won't be part of the rebuild in Detroit. He's going to be part of the trying to build on the fly. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be able to be built around Blake Griffin. He's about to be 30-something years old pretty soon. So you got an aging veteran on a mega contract. It's not going to work. They should have stayed pat. They should have kept Morris. They should have kept Tobias. They should have kept all them dudes together. Let the contracts run out. Let them walk or trade for something. Just built around Dre or started clean over. A lot of people not going to agree, but that's the honest truth. They had a great situation going as far as they cap. They could have got rid of Reggie. He could have been Harris, Reggie, Bradley, all of them. You could have built around Dre and moved Dre too, and you would have been able to start scot clean and been a very bad team. Or they would have drafted White with Gilgeous, Alexander, and Devon Mitchell. You would have had a backcourt for the future right there. Matter of fact, you could have stepped one better. You could have had Chris Middleton and Dinwiddie as your backcourt. So the Pistons just need better brass at the top, and hopefully Malik Rose and Stefanowski can do better than Dumars and everybody else did, and Stan Van Gundy and Jordan Bowers did. But Motor City Sports Talk, appreciate everybody checking in. Don't forget, we on Facebook, Twitter. Also, we on Instagram as well. You can reach out to me in the email if you got a question, inquiry, sponsorship, or business question. Appreciate it. Let me know what y'all think about the scenario. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, bell icon button, and just let me know what y'all think, man. Was it an issue or a problem with this trade? But I appreciate all the support you guys give me. Keep sharing the videos. Y'all know what it is. We gone.